If you want to learn more about AI startups, this video is for you. In this episode, we're with an entrepreneur that just started his career as Google's product manager, then became the co-founder of Camcore. Later on, Forbes 30 under 30 and Meta's and also Instagram leader. Now he's in a new mission with Jamex, an AI tool that's gonna change your sales game forever. Hello everyone, here we are with Matt from Gemex, and the first question is, sell yourself in 30 seconds.
Hey everyone, I'm Matt, and nice to meet you all. So a little bit about me. I've been building product for about 17 years. Half of my career roughly has been working at big tech in Google and Meta, and the other half of my career has been starting companies. So I'm currently working on my second startup called Jamex.
Yeah, that's awesome. So sell Jamex in 30 seconds.
So Jamex, we started a little under 2 years ago. We've raised $3 million pre-seed round. And basically we're an AI company based in San Francisco, and we're helping companies connect AI to their data. And more recently, we've been spending a lot of time talking with salespeople, and we're starting to build out a variety of different AI agents for sales teams.
What is the biggest pain that your product solves overall?
The biggest pain point is that today companies have bought a variety of different SaaS applications over the last 5, 10, 20 years, and their data is siloed across all of these applications. And there's a lot of data obviously on the public internet too. And so there needs to be an AI system that can connect into all of these different apps, as well as internet public data, and pull it all together and help make sense of all that data for salespeople. We're asking more and more of our account executives over time, and AI is going to help them be more efficient, more productive, be able to convert deals at a faster rate. So Jamex is essentially helping people sell faster and more efficiently over time.
Do you think that in this speed of AI, will it replace salespeople, or how do you see it as a solution overall?
I think it will be both helping the salespeople as well as potentially replacing certain tasks that salespeople have to do today. So take SDR and the SDR BDR role. If you drive down the highways here in San Francisco, you'll see that a lot of the billboards are for AI SDR BDR type of products. We aren't building that technology because it's a relatively crowded space. There's a fair number of startups that are focused on that right now. But you could imagine a world where AI takes a lot of that outreach, top of funnel outreach type of tasks off the plate of SDRs and BDRs. And so there is a potential that it could replace parts of those roles. And then I do think that there's other use cases where it helps salespeople get their job done faster. For example, research, or connecting into your Salesforce, your call transcripts, your meeting notes, being able to make sense of that data. So that's not really going to replace a salesperson, but it'll help them get to the information they need faster so they can close deals more efficiently.
How it is right now to come back with a new company, new fresh one, starting again? What is this feeling, and what are your perspectives for the company overall?
Yeah, I've had a unique career. Well, so I went to MIT and studied computer science there, and then I moved out to the West Coast, and I had always had this dream as a young kid to start companies. So I started my career at Google. Back then, it was a big company still. In 2008, obviously it's grown a lot more over the last 16, 17 years. But I knew I wanted to start a company, and after around 3 or 4 years at Google, I left and started my first company called Camcore, $35 million for that company. And we had an opportunity to do a talent acquisition, and I ended up, as part of that process, going to Instagram. And I had this sort of once in a lifetime opportunity to lead Instagram Stories about a year after it had launched. So at that stage, Stories was a pretty undifferentiated product. It looked very similar to the other competitors in the product, like Snapchat Stories. And we had a really unique opportunity to really differentiate the product, build new features. A lot of the features that you see in the product today, like close friends, the music sticker, a lot of the really fun interactive stickers as well, polling and things of that nature. And so I really loved that experience. It was so much fun. And then I went over to a different part of Meta and focused on crypto. And that was during COVID. And I think COVID really, for me, was an eye-opening experience. It made me realize that life is short and I need to continue to follow and chase my dreams. And so that's why I left Meta in 2022 to start a new company. I took some time off. I had never taken more than 2 weeks off in my career. So I was really burnt out. I needed a break. And I ended up taking 11 months off, and then somewhat fortunate that ChatGPT came out in this whole generative AI era, kind of fell into my lap as an entrepreneur. And so then it was just a matter of figuring out, who I'm going to work with as a co-founder, and what our product was going to be. And so that was sort of the beginnings of Jamex.
Yeah, this is really tough. Your company right now,
now is all remote, or do you have planned to be on-site company?
So we have 5 people in San Francisco. We have this really nice office. We got fortunate to find a small office. We do have one remote worker in Canada, and we also have a couple contractors that we work with across the world. So we sort of joke as a team. We now with the full-time employees as well as the contractors, we sort of have someone Jamex working 24/7 on the weekdays.
So what are you looking at a differentiator in this AI market? What do you think is going to be the competitive advantage other than also your expertise and everything, but from your company itself comparing to similar ones that are trying to start this market right now?
And so I think it ultimately comes down to one, just being really mindful of our burn rate and making sure that we can extend our runway, and then also really being close to our customers, talking to customers every day. Personally have somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 calls with customers, prospects every week. And so I think one of our key differentiators is that we have figured out a way to get a lot of those calls scheduled and have a lot of FaceTime with actual people that are facing inefficiencies in their job. And one of the essentially after you talk to a lot of people, you'll start to find some patterns in terms of some of the challenges they're facing. When you identify one of those patterns, you then have to do some market research and determine is anyone really solving this problem the right way? And we recently discovered that a lot of account executives are spending a lot of time doing research on their prospects, and there actually isn't really a great AI tool out there today for that. And so that's one of the key gaps that we're going to be filling in the market very soon.
So as your experience was in these big tech companies, what do you think that you can apply from them that also fits in your new company's reality to use these insights?
I think there's so much you can learn actually from big tech. I think one of the big things is prioritization. I learned that at Meta. I think they did an amazing job taking all the things, laying out all the things that you could be doing, but then being really principled about what are the must-haves, what are the nice-to-haves for a product. And so I think that was one skill that I learned while I was there. Obviously, also just working with really high caliber people, you learn through osmosis. You learn through how they get their job done and how they make decisions. I think another thing at Meta that we did a great job is whenever we faced a challenge, we would basically write a short document that would say, here's the challenge, here are the different options for how we can solve it, the trade-offs, and then here's a recommendation for what we think is the best option and why. And we as a team got really good at doing that. And so we've brought a lot of that to Jamex as well. And then there's also other parts of the process like doing retros. So at Jamex, every 2 weeks, we do a retro with our engineering team, and we look at what went well the last 2 weeks, what didn't go so well, what could we do to improve to make things more efficient. And that's really helped us as a team have sort of a no ego, constantly improving kind of mindset. And so, yeah, I do think there are elements that you can bring from big tech into a startup. I think one of the things that's harder is at a startup, you're obviously starting with nothing really. You have no product, no customers, no revenue. And usually in big tech, you're starting with a product that is already, live and generating revenue, has customers, etc. So I think that is one of the biggest differences, obviously, is building a product from 0 to 1, finding product market fit, iterating to product market fit. Those are skills that are harder to find at a big tech company. That said, there are times in big tech where they start a new division or a new product line, and in that sense, you are trying to figure out product market fit in that case.
How it is your strategy to be more productive?
For me to be more productive, I think one thing is I look at where can I add the most value for the company, and then I ruthlessly prioritize what I have on my plate. So there are many things that in an ideal world I would do, but I will document that. I'll put it on my to-do list, but it's sort of at the bottom of my list. I'll ruthlessly prioritize for each day, for each week. And then I also look at, are there ways that I can delegate certain items to my team? My team is really ambitious. They want to grow. And so are there ways that I can help them grow by delegating certain tasks or projects to them? And so, I'm always looking at prioritizing and delegating, and then, holding myself accountable. I have a set of things that I want to get done each week, and I make sure that those are documented. I keep those top of mind at the very top of my to-do list. And then at the end of the week, I make sure that those things are done. And if they're not, then I have to diagnose why did they not get done? What inhibited me from doing that? And then I try to learn from that and correct in future weeks.
So in this journey, you probably had a lot of mistakes and from even Camcor, Meta, and also Google, what are some mistakes that you can share with us that you have done that you wouldn't repeat, that was a lesson for you?
Yeah, sure. Well, with Camcord, we built this technology that allowed mobile gamers, so game players, to record their screen and share videos. And we basically built this technology and gave it away for free to game developers. We had to do that because of there was another competitor in the market, and so we had to compete. They were also giving away their technology for free, but ultimately monetizing that overall company was challenging. And so I think one thing that was very top of mind for me when I was starting Jamix is that I really wanted to find something where we were confident that we could build a piece of software, give it to someone, they would see the value in a short period of time, and they would be willing to pull out their credit card and actually pay for it. So I didn't want to give away software for free upfront for too long. Obviously, you may have like a trial run for 7 days or 14 days or something like that. But I wanted to work on software that I was confident people were ultimately going to be willing to pay for. That was a big one. I think other teams like at Jamix, we obviously with AI, it's a new technology. So you're trying to figure out what are the use cases. And I think we could have been talking to more customers even earlier. This is something that we do now. As I mentioned earlier, we're talking to 15 or 20 customers a week. And it was hard to get signal on where can AI add the most value. And so I think we're all, as an industry, we're all trying to figure out what are those use cases. And I think the best approach is to just be really, really close to your customers as much as humanly possible.
Talking about the studies that got you where you are right now, you said you went to MIT, but during this path, it was everything self-learn or learning with others, or do you also had any specific courses or any specific events?
It's kind of all of the above. I think one of the things that stuck out the most about my MIT experience was a lot of the people that I went to school with were aspiring to become entrepreneurs. And one of the very first people I met when I first got to MIT was this guy named Arash Ferdowsi. And it turns out he ended up becoming the Dropbox CTO and co-founder. He was probably one of the first 2 or 3 people I met at MIT when I first got there. And then he and I and others would go to what was called the E-Club or Entrepreneurship Club. And we would be meeting other students or recent graduates that would come back and present their startup ideas. And one of the guys that would present was Drew Houston, who ultimately was the CEO and founder of Dropbox. And the funny thing is that I knew Drew and I knew Arash, and the two of them didn't know each other. And actually it took another friend, this guy Kyle Vogt, and he ended up connecting the two of them later on. And so that was kind of crazy, just to see friends of yours that were just kind of hacking on cool ideas, and then suddenly they're moving to the West Coast, they're raising all this money, they're building this amazing product, they're getting customers and revenue, and that's very inspiring and to see and to realize that they are obviously extremely talented, but at the end of the day they're real human beings, and so it's achievable. It's achievable to build something that is a category leader.
Also, from that, you actually sold the company, right?
We did a talent acquisition for Camcord. So there were part of the team went to Instagram, like myself, and then part of the team went to Lyft.
When you transition it, so you have like your company, then you transition to a different, from you being an entrepreneur, now you had your company, now you are working like a normal job, we could say.
Yeah, it was a shift. Yeah, going from being the CEO of a startup to working basically as like a team lead within Instagram was a difference in responsibility and expectation. As a startup CEO, the number of people I had to convince for us to move forward on something was pretty small. It was mostly like me and my 2 co-founders for Camcord to get in a room, figure the strategy out or the product decision or the hiring decision, and we could make a decision pretty quickly and move forward. At Instagram, it was a much bigger company and organization. And so I viewed my role as less having to actually making the decisions, to sort of bringing all the information together, bringing all the right people together, and then facilitating a decision-making process. And, I learned a lot of those skills while I was at Google. And so it helped that I had some previous big company experiences. But I do think, being a team lead at a big company is a different set of responsibilities for sure.
And what are the characteristics of people that succeeded overall and people that stayed the same?
I think within the big tech companies, the thing that helps people rise success up the ladder, so to speak, is folks that can drive impact on the top line metrics. Especially at Meta, they cared a lot about goals, setting goals every quarter, every 6 months, and being really ambitious about setting those goals and then figuring out, from a bottoms up point of view, if we were to launch these 4 different features, can we ultimately hit this metric goal? And so I think the people that were able to rise up were able to accomplish that. They were able to set an ambitious goal, figure out what are the features that could potentially drive that metric, and then they were able to lead a team and actually execute on that vision and launch the things on time. And then those things actually did have impact that they had hoped for. That's probably many skills in one. That's really important overall, to be able to set a goal and then be able to hit it. I think also leading a team and having empathy for a team and being able to manage a team and help team members grow. That's another really important skill set, especially if you take more of like a manager path as opposed to staying as an individual contributor.
And how did you sell your ideas to your, if you are a leader, you had to sell your ideas to them as well. So how it was for you to do that?
At Instagram, for example, we would do brainstorms, right? So, well, let me take a step back. So what we would do is we would do a few things. One, we would look at data. So we obviously had hundreds of millions of users using our product. And so we were able to look at a lot of actual data. And then we also would do a lot of user research and talk to users. So we would fly around the world, talk to oftentimes teenagers and ask them what parts of Instagram they like, what parts of other apps do they like. And then we would then bring all of that information and our intuition back to the team. And then we would then do brainstorms with the team and come up with a wide variety of ideas. And so I would sometimes have my own ideas that I would contribute in those brainstorms. But again, my view on that was less that it was about me advocating for my own ideas. It was more about getting the team the information so that they could brainstorm, come up with a lot of fun ideas, then have to start to filter through things and figure out which of these ideas do we think are most actionable, most impactful, most feasible. And so then we would bring that and build out a roadmap and a strategy and present that back to the team for the feedback, and then we would also present that plan to leadership for feedback. That was our approach, and it actually worked really well.
If you could give an advice for your younger self, what would that be?
I would say be hyper persistent and go do startups. It's a great journey. There's no class that you can take. There's no company that you can join to really get a lesson as a founder until you just jump all in and just go do it. And so you just have to go do it and do it as fearlessly as possible. One is just go do it. Thankfully, I did. I was about 26 when I started my first company, and I could have done it probably a year or two earlier. So that's one. I think the second is, which I mentioned a few minutes ago, is just spend a lot of time talking to customers up front. And by a lot, I mean have 100 conversations with potential customers and really understand their pain points. Get really good at listening, asking the right questions, and finding what they're actually going to be willing to pay for at the end of the day, because that's ultimately how you're going to generate revenue as a business.
And if you need to have a plan for starting a new company from scratch, focusing on software companies, AI companies, what would be some actionable steps?
You ultimately, the most successful companies are either solving a problem for yourself or you're solving a problem for others. And so I would reflect on what are the problems in my life that I would want solved for me. And then if I don't find any ideas in that realm that I'm super passionate about or that I think others have, then I would move on to the second category of solving a problem for someone else. And to do that, you have to go talk to a lot of people. So in the case of Jamix right now, we've had about 200 conversations with salespeople over the last 4 months. But you could also go talk to people in all kinds of different areas. I didn't know a lot about sales when I first started those 200 conversations, but you can learn really quickly by talking to people, and people generally want to meet with entrepreneurs. They want to help. And so that's one huge benefit, is that people are good. They want to help others. So that's pretty awesome.
Do you have any goals for the next 5 years?
Oh gosh. I really enjoy starting companies. So I think my goal is just to stay heads down and just keep building Jamix right now. And I want to see us, build the best product in our category, get adoption, drive revenue, and then figure out ways to expand the offering over time. And I think AI agents are going to be a huge technological wave over the next 5 years. So the techie part of my brain is really excited about that. I'm really excited to see how far we can push the envelope in terms of AI agents. I'm excited to see how far we can go in terms of growing the company too. Right now, that's my main 5-year focus.
So, and about the technology overall, some people are looking to use OpenAI, some Anthropic, and that goes on and on. Do you have a look for it right now, or it will change over time?
Also, there's layers in the AI industry. The bottom layer is the hardware, the GPU. So NVIDIA owns that layer for the most part. Then you have the layer on top of that, which is the models. And so OpenAI, Anthropic, Mistral, the others that you mentioned, obviously Meta with Llama. So, there's a bunch of models. And I think that's going to be likely a high volume, kind of low margin business. And then you have a layer on top of that, which is sort of the infrastructure. This is like helping companies do prompt optimization, routing to different models, things of that nature. And then the top layer that I'm most excited about and passionate about is building applications, because that's what users will actually interact with. And I think that's going to drive the most amount of value in the industry long term, because it's the hardest problem to solve. To build something that humans are going to interact with and understand and be able to get value from, it's really hard to do that. And so I think that's going to be ultimately how you drive differentiation and value creation in the AI industry. So that'll be where my focus is over the next 5 years. And then I think for us, like we're not interested in building models, because it's, like I said, it's a high volume, low margin business. And for us, it's actually advantageous to be model agnostic, because as new models pop up, we can shift our traffic over to those models, whether it be because they're better at solving a certain use case or they're lower costs. But yeah, being model agnostic actually gives us an advantage in the market, I believe.
And for choosing the people on your team right now, you have to choose people that you already know from your network, or did you also try to find out in the market how it was to gather this amazing team?
We got really lucky. Our lead investor for our pre-seed round, they're called Audacious Ventures, and they have a recruiting team that has supported us amazingly well. I will say a lot of VCs will tell you, yeah, we're great at recruiting, we'll help you, and then they'd end up not really helping that much, to be honest. And so I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when they hear that pitch, might be a little skeptical, if I'm being honest. But in the case of Audacious, they delivered on that promise, and so it's really awesome that we had their support. I think we ended up hiring 2 of our 3 engineers in SF through them, and then one of those engineers ended up referring a friend, the one that's in Canada. So the majority of our team has sort of in some way come through Audacious, and so it's been pretty amazing to work with them on that front. And then talent it's a different ballgame now. I think back when I started Camcord 12 years ago, it was much harder to hire people, especially folks that had worked at a big tech company. And now I think just the dynamics of the market have changed. There's more talent. Obviously, the big tech companies are not hiring as aggressively, so it's a different ballgame for startups. I think that's one area that I've noticed that's been quite different from, say, 10 or 12 years ago.
So to finish, do you have any message for the viewers?
I think if you're on the fence of starting a company, go do it. Like it's scary at first. I've never met an entrepreneur, that even ones that have failed, that have looked back and been like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. And so it's better. You don't want to live a life of regret, wondering what could be, what could have been. And so it's better to just go for it, try it. And there's going to be jobs, on the market. Even in a bad market, there'll still be jobs. And honestly, if you go and start a company, it doesn't work out, and you go back on the jobs market, you're going to be an appealing candidate, because you will have had so much unique experience as a founder. And so I think that's the most important thing, is just go try.